Hey there, do you have data such as this? But rather than making a standard line chart, you would like to make a step chart. Well, then you come to the right place. In Excel, use the Alt F11 shortcut in order to open up the Vba Editor. Then in sequence, hit Alt, I for India and M for Mike in order to open up a new module. Type in the VBA code. Go back to the worksheet. Type in the name of the function we just made. Provide the necessary input, the x values and the y values in this case. Hit enter. Then you take the output, select it, go to insert, and then you select the appropriate type of diagram. The scatter plot with lines. And there you go. Now you have a step chart. But how does it work? In order to make the step chart, we need to generate artificial observations. Take a look at the x values and the y values. For the x values, we need to duplicate every single observation with the exception of the very first observation. x1 appears once, x2 appears twice, x3 appears twice, and all the way up to xn. For y, however, we have a slightly different pattern. y1 appears twice, y2 appears twice, y3 appears twice, all the way up to yn-1, which in this case is y9. It appears twice. However, the final observation, y10 or yn, only appears once. So this means that we're duplicating every single observation with the exception of one of them. If we started out with n observations, we will end up with n times 2 minus 1 observations. To make a function in VBA, we start by typing in function, followed by the name of the function we're trying to make. And it's important to have a valid name here. In this case, I opted for the name step chart. Then we open up parentheses and end the parentheses. Within the parentheses, we list up all the input variables. In this case, we have two input ranges, one which I called x vals and another one which I called y vals, and these are input ranges representing the x values and the y values respectively. After the parentheses, I specify the data type of the output of the function. In this case, it's a variant because we're going to output an array. Next, I go on to defining an array, which I'm going to populate with the real observations and the artificial observations. So I want a 2 times 2 array with two columns. Column 1 representing the x values and column 2 representing the y values. And the number of rows is going to be equal to n number of observations or real observations multiplied by 2 minus 1. Next, I need to loop through each value of the array, both for the column 1 and column 2. For column 1, we are populating it with the x values. And in the second column, we will look at the y values. We're going to use a for loop in order to go through each of the rows in the output array. The secret to knowing whether to duplicate the observation or to move on to the next observation is to use the mod operator. If the observation index is an even number or odd number, that will determine whether or not to increment or to duplicate. For the x values, we'll move on to the next value if you're looking at an even index. However, for the y values, we have the opposite. If you're looking at an odd index, then we'll move on to the next observation. And then finally, we need to output this array we have created.